Hi friends, welcome back to Oracle SQL and PLSQL group. Today we are going to discuss about top 30 interview questions that are frequently asking in PLSQL interviews. Friends, many of my YouTube viewers and YouTube subscribers asked me to provide the answers. So today I have decided to provide the answers for the basic level of PLSQL interview questions. So here we go. So the first question here we are going to see is what is PLSQL. So before going into the main concepts of PLSQL, you have to know what is PLSQL and what is the purpose of it and why we are going for it and what is not there in SQL and why we are going for PLSQL. So we will see all those things now. Here we go. So first, what is PLSQL? PLSQL is a procedural language. That means it's a programming language that has both interactive SQL and such as iterations and conditional branching. That means friends, in SQL we don't have procedural feature and also the programming feature. It's just like a structural language. SQL is just structural language that is used to talk with any kind of database in the market. But whereas in PLSQL it is like a programming language, how we have C, C++, Java, Photon and other COBOL. Likewise, we have so many programming languages in the market. In the same way, we will be having PLSQL in Oracle database. So, along with this programming and procedural features, we also have iterative SQL and also the conditional branchings in PLSQL. And also, we have one important thing that is called exception handling in PLSQL. Friends, in order to enhance the features of SQL, we are going for PLSQL. So, this must be clear for you all, then only it will be easy for you to understand the further concepts. So next question, what is the basic structure of PLSQL? So PLSQL uses block structure as its basic structure, that is called as anonymous block. So in general normal anonymous block we will be having declaration section, begin section and then exception handling section. We will be having totally 3 sections. Apart from this we will be having nested blocks in PLSQL and also sub blocks. The sub block is also called as sub programs in PLSQL. So when you say sub programs, we have different sub programs in PLSQL. For example, function, procedure, package are the sub programs in PLSQL. So we will be having declaration section, definition section and exception handling section in PLSQL subprograms as well. But there is a difference between anonymous block and normal subprograms. For that I have created another video. Please look into that video. So next one, what are the components of PLSQL block? So as I mentioned while discussing second question, we have 3 type of components. That means 3 type of components in PLSQL. So a set of related declaration and procedural statements is called as block. That means in a PLSQL block we will be having declaration section, body, that is also called as definition section and the exception handling section. So the collection of all these things will be called as a block in PLSQL. So in declaration section we will be declaring whatever is required to define in definition section. So in definition section we will be defining what and all are required to mention in that particular program. And exception handling is not a mandatory thing. If you want you can declare exception handling, otherwise it's not required. Here among these 3 blocks, that is declaration section, body and also exception section, only body is a mandatory session in PLSQL block. So other 2, those are declaration section and exception handling sections, are not mandatory in PLSQL block. So next one is what are the components of PLSQL block? Declaration part, executable part and exception part. So here the only executable part is mandatory part. Next one, what are the data types available in PLSQL? We have so many types of data types in PLSQL. Those are not available in SQL, such as some scalar data types such as number, varchar2, date, long, character, boolean, and some composite data types such as record and table are only available in PLSQL but not in SQL. So moving on to the next slide, 6th question, what are percentage type and percentage row type, and what are the advantages of using these over data types. So here the percentage type and percentage row type are the two different data types. Here we will see the difference. When you say percentage type provides the data type of a variable or a data base column to that variable. That means a data type can be defined to any variable of a database column, whereas PLSQL row type provides the record type that represents a entire row of a table or view or column selected in a cursor. Friends, here the percentage type is the normal data type, how we use varchar number. In the same way we will be having percentage type in PLSQL, but percentage row type will be used in cursors. So this holds the entire row of a table. So this is the difference between percentage type and row type. This is the most commonly asked question in interview. So the advantages are: need not to know about variables data type is the first advantage, and if the database definition of a column in a table changes, the data type of a variable changes accordingly. So these two are the advantages of percentage row type. So the next question, that is 7th question, is what is difference between row type and type record? Friends, same question is repeating here. So here I have just given the example for this particular row type and type. So please have a look at the example. Moving on to the next slide, 8th one. What is PLSQL table? So this is a basic question, friends. Sorry. Objects of types tables are called PLSQL tables. So the PLSQL table is also be called as data dictionary. So this is the most important point, friends. So when you say data dictionary is also called as a PLSQL table, that means whatever the data is going to be stored in PLSQL is called as data dictionary. So in data dictionary only the data will be stored. So here we are calling that data dictionary is PLSQL table, which are modeled as database tables. PLSQL tables use a primary. PLSQL tables can have one column and a primary key as we use in SQL. So the next question, that is 9th one. What is a cursor? Why cursor is required? Cursor is a named private SQL area from where information can be accessed. That means, friends, it's a temporary area or context area created by a Oracle database. So whenever a SQL query is executing at runtime, this area will be automatically created by Oracle database, and that particular result of a SQL query will be stored in this particular area. So here the advantage is we can access that particular information of a SQL query after running that and after completing of execution process. Cursors are required to process rows individually for queries returning multiple rows. So friends, here mainly we have two types of cursors. If you go to the next question, explain the two types of cursors. So here we have two types of cursors, implicit cursors and explicit cursor. Implicit is a system created cursor, so we cannot change anything in implicit cursor, whereas explicit cursor is created by developer. PLSQL developer have to create explicit cursor, but the implicit cursor is already created by a system. So whenever a row is returning a single, that means whenever a SQL query is returning single row, that can be called as implicit cursor. If the query is returning more than one row result set, then it will be called as explicit cursor. User defined cursors are called explicit cursors, and they can be declared and used. So moving to the next question, what are the PLSQL statements used in cursor processing? So friends, here we have totally 4 statements that we commonly use in cursor processing. So first one is declare cursor. So first of all we have to declare the cursor, and then we have to open it, and then fetch cursor, and at last close cursor. So if someone asks you what are the cursor statements, you have to say like open, fetch and close as well as declare. So the next question is 12th one. What are the cursor attributes used in PLSQL? Friends, this is the most important questions. When you say cursor attributes, these are the explicit cursor attributes. When you say statements, those are the implicit cursor statements. So here in 12th question they are asking cursor attributes. This is a very important concept. So here we have 4 types of attributes. Those can be called as cursor attributes. So those are is open, row count, found and not found. So is open is used to check whether cursor is opened or not. Row count is used to check number of rows fetched, updated or deleted. Found is used to check whether cursor has fetched any row or not. If it is fetched, then it will throw you true, otherwise it will throw you false. So not found is used to check whether the cursor has fetched any row or not. It will true if it has written something. It will be false if no rows are fetched. So these attributes are processed with SQL for implicit cursors and with cursor name for explicit cursors. So these are the implicit cursor attributes. So when you say statements, those are explicit cursor statements. Moving on to the next slide. What is a cursor for loop? So friends, here I have given cursor for loop. If you see here, cursor for loop implicitly declare percentage row type, as we discussed earlier. Percentage row type has loop index, opens a cursor, fetches rows from value from active set into fields in the records and closes when all the records have been processed. Here I have given a simple example. Please check it, and if you have any doubts regarding this example, you can comment on my video. So the next question is, what will happen after commit statement? So friends, as we all know, once you commit the transaction will be stored permanently in a database. So the commit is not required for DDL statements. This is only required for DML statements. When you say DML statements, data manipulation statements, delete, update, insert are the DML operations. So when you do these things, you need to commit the transaction, otherwise it is not required, because DDL, when you say DDL, truncate, drop, create, alter are the DDL statements that we have in SQL and both PLSQL. So those are auto committed statements. So the commit is not required for those transactions. Moving on to the next slide, 15th one. Explain the usage of where current of class in cursor. Where current of class in cursor is an update delete statement, refers to the latest rows fetched from a cursor. Next question, what is a database trigger? Names the usage of database trigger. This is a very good concept in PLSQL, guys. So when you say trigger is a subprogram. It will be automatically fired when an DML operations or any event occur in the database. That means if some event is occurs in the database, the trigger will be automatically fired. So if you are creating, say for example, if we are creating a trigger on employee table, so when you do some DML operations or when you do some operations on that particular employee table, the trigger will be fired automatically at the back end. So there are many uses of triggers in Oracle PLSQL. Those are audit data modification. We can audit the data by using triggers, log events, and also we can enforce the business logic rules, and also the implement complex securities. That means we can provide the security. If you say for example, when you say security, if you don't want to perform any DML operations on employee table on Saturdays and Sundays, that means non-business hours, so you can create a trigger on the particular table. Inside the trigger you can mention the DML operations, and you can throw an error like should not perform any DML operations on weekend days. Likewise you can have some triggers on tables, and likewise you can provide a security. And auditing is also a very important use of PLSQL. And the main other usage of trigger is that whenever you update view, the trigger will automatically update the main table. So this is also one advantage of trigger. So the next one is it possible to use transaction control statements such as rollback, commit in database trigger? If not, why? It is not possible. Friends, performing rollback or commit operations inside a trigger is not possible because trigger is not a single transaction. It is a part of a larger transaction. So as triggers are defined for each table, if you use commit or rollback in a trigger, it affects logical transaction processing. So you should not do this kind of control statements operations in triggers. So you can perform these things. We cannot say like you cannot perform. You can perform commit or rollback in triggers in only autonomous transaction. We will discuss about the autonomous transaction in future. So what are next question is 18th one. What are two parts of packages? So when you say package is a schema object that we have in PLSQL. It is a collection of package specification and package body. When you say package specification, it's like a package declaration section. So here we will be declaring constants, variables, and what all we require, those and all can be declared in package specification or declaration part. When you say package body, the package body will contain procedures and functions and other sub-programs. So, and one more main point in package is that it is not mandatory to declare the sub-programs in declaration section, whatever we are going to use in package body. So, if you declare in declaration section, that will be preferred as a public, and if you use any sub-programs in package body without declaring in package specification, that can be treated as a private. So these are the two parts that we have in package. One is package specification and package body. Moving on to the next slide. The next question is that 19th. What are two virtual tables available during database trigger execution? Friends, here we have two virtual tables, that is new and old. See, before the trigger is fired, whatever the data might have been in that table is called as old data, and once the trigger is fired, the data might be updated, so that table data can be called as new data. So new and old are the two objects that can be used for identifying the old and new tables data. So the next question is, what happens if a procedure that updates a column of table X is called in a database trigger of a same table? See friends, when the trigger is fired on a table that is already in use, that means, say for example, employee table is there, and now at this point of time I am updating something in employee table. At the same time, the trigger is also fired at the back end. So what will happen at that particular time? That time the mutation of the table will occur. This is what we call as mutating triggers in PLSQL. So the next one is write the order of precedence for validations of a column in a table. So these can be done using database triggers and also can be done using integrity constraints. So we have constraints and triggers in database. We will see the difference here itself. So when you say constraints, the constraint is only applicable for new data, but the trigger is applicable for both new data and as well as old data, because when you say new data and old data, the constraints are defined while creating the column, while creating the table or column, but the triggers can be created after table creation or after data instruction in the tables. So moving to the next question, what is an exception? What are the types of exception? This is an important question, friends. This is an important feature in PLSQL as well. So exception is abnormal condition that occurs at the runtime. So when you ask what are the types of exception, we have two types of exception: predefined exception and user defined exceptions in PLSQL. So user defined exception can be defined by the users, but the predefined exceptions are already predefined ones. So when you say predefined exception, I have given few things here: no data found, invalid cursor, program error, logon denied, logon error, so storage error, value error, 0 divided by error, and so many other predefined exceptions are already available in PLSQL. So moving on to the next slide, the next question is, what is pragma exception init and explain the usage of it. The pragma exception init tells the compiler to associate an exception with an Oracle error to get an error message of a specific Oracle errors. When you use pragma exception init, it will give you the exception name and the Oracle exception error number. So this is the use of it. The next one is, what is rise application error? Rise application error is a procedure of a package DBMS underscore standard which allow to issue an user defined error message from stored subprogram or database trigger. What are the return values of a functions? SQL code and SQL ERRM. So as we discussed in earlier video, SQL code will give you the unique error number and the SQL ERRM, that means SQL error message, will give you the particular relevant error message of a SQL code. So these two will be identified by the last occurred error in the database. So next question, that is 26, where the predefined exceptions are stored. In the standard package, procedures and functions and normal packages. So the predefined exceptions will be stored in subprograms. Those are called as procedures, functions and packages in PLSQL. What is a stored procedure? Stored procedure is a sequence of statements that perform a specific task. We will be having different modes in procedure to pass the parameters, that is in, out and in out mode. So in is used to pass the value from calling environment to procedure, and out is used to pass the value from procedure to calling environment. By using in out mode, we can do the both operations. So what is overloading of a procedure? The same procedure name is repeated with parameters of different data types and the parameters in a different positions, and varying the number of parameters is called as overloading the procedures. Example, DBMS output line. Moving to the next slide, what is a package and what are the advantages of package? By using package, we can create an application, friends. This is the main program we will be calling as package in PLSQL. Package is a database object that groups logically related procedures and functions. The advantages of package are modularity, easy application design and information and reusability, data hiding or information hiding, better performance. So friends, when you say reusability, I will explain you the reusability, how it is happening in PLSQL. So say for example, if we have a procedure called tag, so the tag procedure, once the tag procedure is compiled, that will be permanently stored in the database, friends. So you can use again and again the same procedure by using the procedure name. So once you, not only procedure, it is also a function or package or any subprogram in PLSQL. So once you compile it, it will be stored by you. It will be stored permanently in the database. You can call it whenever you want and you can access it whenever you want by using its name. So procedures, functions and packages are named subprograms that are permanently stored in PLSQL database, Oracle PLSQL database. This is why we are calling as reusability is an advantage. When you say better performance, friends, once you compile it, I am telling that it will be stored in a database. So when you accessing it second time, it won't compile again. That means it is already stored in a compiled form, so it will be executed directly. So in this way we can provide the better performance. Information hiding, as I mentioned, we will be having names to the already created subprograms. By using that particular name only, you can able to access the program. So if you wanted to access any subprogram, you should be having privileges from the owner of that particular subprogram. So in this way we can provide the information hiding or information security. So the last question here I am going to discuss is, what is the difference between cursor declared in a procedure and cursor declared in a package specification? So a cursor declared in a package specification is a global and can be accessed by other procedures or functions in a package. Friends, as I already discussed or already mentioned, it is not mandatory to declare all the things in package specification. If you declare in package specification, it will be treated as a public or global. So a cursor declared in a procedure is local to be the procedure that cannot be accessed by the other procedures. Friends, that means if you are declaring it in declaration or specification part, that will be considered as global, and if you are not declaring in declaration part, that will be treated as private. So that's all for today, friends. Thank you for watching this video. I hope these questions are helpful for you to understand the PLSQL concepts, and also all these 30 are covered the basics of PLSQL, and also it covers the most frequently asked questions in MNC companies. So thank you, friends. In my next video I will be providing you the next set of questions and next topics in PLSQL. We will go into the next in-depth concepts. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to my channel for more upcoming videos. Thank you so much, friends.